So hello everyone, in this audio class we will discuss the 20 most important questions from the chapter Structure and Physiography India from the book India Physical Environment. These questions will be very much important for your upcoming KVS NVS Geography PGT interview. So let's get started with the question number 1. Why is India called a land of great physical diversity? So India exhibits remarkable variations in geology, relief and climate. Physiographic divisions are the result of geological structure and geomorphic processes. India contains young fold mountains, ancient plateaus, extensive alluvial plains, deserts, coastal plains and islands. For example, the Himalayas are among the youngest mountains, whereas the Peninsular Plateau is one of the oldest land masses of the earth. Next question, into how many major physiographic divisions is India divided? So India is broadly divided into 6 physiographic divisions: northern and northeastern mountains, northern plains, peninsular plateau, Indian desert, coastal plains and islands. This division shows the geological evolution and diversity of India. Next question, why is the Peninsular Plateau called the most stable landmass of India? So the Peninsular Plateau is composed mainly of ancient crystalline, igneous and metamorphic rocks. It has remained largely unaffected by mountain building movements since the Cambrian period. Therefore, it is tectonically stable compared to the Himalayas. Why are the Himalayas considered young fold mountains? So the Himalayas were formed due to the collision between Indian plate and the Eurasian plate. They are geologically young and still undergoing upliftment. Therefore, they are structurally weak and highly susceptible to earthquakes and landslides. Next question, how do the Himalayas influence India's environment? So the Himalayas act as a climatic drainage and cultural divide. They prevent extremely cold Central Asian winds from entering India and intercept the southwest monsoon, causing heavy rainfall. They also give rise to major perennial rivers like the Indus, Ganga and Brahmaputra. Next question, why are the Himalayas called a climatic barrier? So Himalayas form a massive wall about 2500 km long. They block cold continental winds from Central Asia and force moisture laden monsoon winds to rise and produce rainfall. Without the Himalayas, much of the northern India would be cold and arid. Next question, what is the significance of the northern plains? So the northern plains are formed by alluvial deposits brought by the Indus, Ganga and Brahmaputra river systems. They are approximately 3200 km long and 150 to 300 km wide. Fertile alluvial soils and abundant water resources have made them the most densely populated and agriculturally productive regions of the India. Next question, why are the northern plains densely populated? So the plains possess fertile alluvial soils, gentle slopes, perennial rivers and favorable climate. Flat terrain facilitates agriculture, transport and urbanization. For example, the Ganga plain supports intensive cultivation of rice, wheat and sugarcane. Next question, explain Bhabar and Tarai. So Bhabar is a narrow belt about 8 to 10 km wide along the foothills of Shivaliks, where rivers deposit pebbles and boulders and disappear underground. South of it lies the Tarai, about 10 to 20 km wide, where rivers re-emerge, creating marshy and swampy conditions with dense natural vegetation. Next question, differentiate between Bhangar and Khadar. So Bhangar is old alluvium deposited on slightly elevated terraces and often contains calcareous concretions called kankar. Khadar is newer alluvium deposited annually by floods and is more fertile. Therefore, Khadar is generally preferred for intensive agriculture. Next question, why is the Peninsular Plateau called a storehouse of minerals? So plateau consists mainly of ancient crystalline rocks containing rich mineral deposits. Major minerals like iron ore, manganese, mica and bauxite occur here. For example, the Chotanagpur Plateau is known as the mineral heartland of India. Next question, why are rivers of Peninsular Plateau different from Himalayan rivers? So peninsular rivers flow over hard crystalline rocks and have reached a mature stage of geomorphic development. Most are seasonal and possess broad, shallow valleys. Himalayan rivers are perennial, youthful and actively eroding. Next question, why are Himalayan rivers perennial? So Himalayan rivers originate from glaciers and receive water from both snow melt and monsoon rainfall. Therefore, they flow throughout the year. Examples include the Ganga, Yamuna and Brahmaputra. Next question, why do peninsular rivers form waterfalls? So Peninsular Plateau has uneven topography and resistant rock structures. Rivers flowing over steep gradients produce waterfalls and rapids. For example, Jog falls on Saravati river and Hundru falls on Suvarnarekha river. Next question, why is Indian desert located in western India? So the Aravalli range runs parallel to the southwest monsoon winds and therefore does not obstruct them effectively. The region also lies away from major moisture sources. Consequently, western Rajasthan receives very low rainfall and develops desert conditions. Next question, what is the significance of coastal plains? So coastal plains provide natural harbors, facilitate maritime trade and support fisheries and agriculture. The western coastal plain is narrow and highly indented, whereas the eastern coastal plain is broader and receives extensive deltaic deposits from rivers like Mahanadi, Godavari, Krishna and Kaveri. Next question, why are deltas mainly found on the eastern coast? So east flowing rivers carry huge amounts of sediments and enter the Bay of Bengal, where relatively calm conditions favor deposition. Therefore, extensive deltas have developed on the eastern coast. Next question, why are islands strategically important for India? So islands extend India's exclusive economic zone, facilitate maritime trade, enhance defense and conserve biodiversity. The Andaman and Nicobar Islands occupy a strategic position near the Malacca Strait, one of the busiest sea routes in the world. Next question, why are earthquakes frequent in the Himalayan region? So Himalayas are tectonically active because the Indian plate continues to converge with the Eurasian plate. Ongoing compression produces faults and folds, making the region highly prone to earthquakes. Next question, why is understanding physiography important for geography teaching? So physiography controls climate, drainage, soil, vegetation, agriculture and settlement pattern. Understanding India's physiography helps explain why Punjab became an agricultural region, why Rajasthan is arid and why the northeast receives heavy rainfall. So there are some follow-up questions. You said Himalayas are young full mountains. Why are they called young? Because they were formed comparatively recently due to collision between the Indian plate and Eurasian plate and are still rising. So if they are still rising, what evidence support this? So frequent earthquakes, landslides and tectonic instability indicate that mountain building processes are still active. Next question, what role do they play in India's climate? So they prevent cold Central Asian winds from entering India and force monsoon winds to shed rainfall. Next question, can you explain with an example? So Mosindam and Cherrapunji receive extremely high rainfall because moisture laden monsoon winds are forced to rise by the Himalayan and Meghalaya hill barriers. So there are some factual questions from this chapter. How many physiographic divisions does India have? 6 physiographic divisions. Approximate length of the Himalayas about 2500 km. Width of Himalayas 160 to 400 km. Length of northern plains 3200 km. Average width of northern plain 150 to 300 km. Maximum depth of alluvial deposits in northern plain 1000 to 2000 meters. Width of Bhabar 8 to 10 km. Width of Tarai about 10 to 20 km. Rivers responsible for northern plains Indus, Ganga and Brahmaputra. Which physiographic division is geologically most stable? Peninsular Plateau. Which rocks dominate the Peninsular Plateau? Crystalline, igneous and metamorphic rocks. Which plateau is called the mineral heartland of India? Chota Nagpur Plateau. Which rivers form major deltas on the eastern coast? Mahanadi, Godavari and Krishna, Kaveri. Why are Himalayan rivers perennial? Because they are fed by glaciers and rainfall. Why are peninsular rivers seasonal? Because mainly dependent on monsoon rainfall. Which belt contains conker deposits? Bhangar. Which physiographic divisions is most earthquake prone? That is Himalayan region. Why are western coastal plains narrow? Because western Ghats lie close to the Arabian Sea. And why are eastern coastal plains broad? Due to extensive river deposition and delta formation. Which island lie close to Malacca Strait, Andaman and Nicobar Island? So the gist of this lesson is India's physiography is not merely description of landforms. It explains the country's climate, rivers, soils, natural resources, agriculture and patterns of human settlement. Therefore, understanding India's physical environment is essential for understanding India as a geographical system. So, thanks for listening. Keep listening for further audio classes. Thank you.